Hi, Camilla.
Hi, Molly.
Thank you for sharing your favourite books with me this morning. Great.
Absolutely pleasure. Very nice to be here.
Well, it's a bit of a change actually talking about other people's books rather than our own. Quite a nice sort of change.
A really nice change, actually. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I do actually have our book just to show to everybody that has newly been published, beautifully illustrated by Camilla and available through my website and all good bookshops. And Camilla has a few copies too. And it is a great read, beautiful pictures by you're incredibly talented.
Thanks. I very much enjoyed doing it. It was a good story.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll be the first of many, but we're keeping that aside. I know that you have a lovely son who you enjoy reading picture books to as well.
That's right. So Rufus is 4.5, so we are right in the middle of the picture book zone at the minute, and so it's a complete joy, and I'm sure actually really positively benefits my illustration, looking at so many different styles. So yes, it's very nice to be asked for my 3 choices here.
Yeah, and you can get the chance to, I guess, see firsthand a child's reaction to the books.
Absolutely, it's so interesting. Yes, and you know, some which he won't go for at first. It's just because maybe he's not quite old, so you see him sort of grow into things. It's very nice. Yeah.
Oh, well, without further ado, what's your first book that you?
So I think my first thing would be Shirley Hughes. He's obviously a bit of a classic. This is one of the Alpha books, and most people, I'm sure, who are reading to children will be looking at Shirley Hughes, but I think she's worth a mention because while the illustration style maybe is not that fashionable, I think her enduring legacy is to do with the fact that they're simple tales, very sort of slowed down and quiet, and telling, you know, simple stories through children's eyes. And she talks a lot about, so it's a very kind of analog, which I think is really good for kids today, with so much sort of completely hyper telly and all this going on. So she's also very into the outdoors and telling stories about what it's like being outside in nature and slowing down and looking at things. So she does also some very nice poems. There's an out and about storybook, and it's literally telling stories about the seasons, making mud pies, what it's like to climb a huge hill and sort of burrow under a big sort of lot of grass or hay, and very simple stories but charmingly told, and they just got something very special about them. And my son actually loves them, and it's very good for sort of slowing down before bed. So I would highly recommend anything by her, and it always amazes me when I encounter people who haven't come across Shirley Hughes, and I think they're missing out because she's special and a treasure for a reason.
Yeah, and she's written loads of books, I think, hasn't she?
So yeah, absolutely, and it's still going, I think.
Yeah, very much so, I think.
So yes, that would be very much my first port of call.
Do you have I know she goes through the seasons in her Out and About book, and do you have a favorite season that you enjoy?
I think I'm a winter person, actually, because I'm much more comfortable in an awful lot of layers. I'm just that sort of person, which is probably why I've ended up living in Edinburgh. And so yeah, she talks about very nice sort of, this one is called Misty, and it's all about sort of raw sort of frosty mornings, and her winter section is particularly beautiful, and of course provides lots of illustrative potential, illustrating snow, so everything's back to front, and icy icy textures and things and colours, which actually is one of the reasons I loved illustrating your David the Pizzly Bear story so much.
That's
Yes,
funny.
so
I'd have thought
yeah.
winter would be a much harder season to illustrate, because I'd have thought in summer you have a lot more colour and versatility, whereas winter everything's sort of white and bare. But it's
a bit sort of hard edged. Yes, and you're sort of painting in the reverse because everything's white, which I think if you're a watercolourist, you get used to doing things back to front. So it kind of just suits the way, I think. But yes, that would be my answer. Winter it is.
Good choice. Well, that's lucky. Well, it must be one of your favourite times of the year now then, as we're approaching.
I know, I love it when it gets below 5 degrees. It's 3.5 degrees this morning. I was like, yes, hit it. Long may that last.
Well, you're in a select group of people.
Do you think I am? Oh, any excuse to get the knitwear on. Yeah.
Well, my book, talking of winter, it's about going on a nice hot holiday. It's Archie's Holidays by Dominica Moore Gordon, and I don't know if you know her books.
Do you know, I don't know her books, but I know her work and absolutely love her work. I think she's a wonderful artist, such lightness of touch. She's got real talent. That's brilliant. This is excellent. I'm going to note that down.
Well, she's written quite a few, and she kind of reminds me of you, which is partly why I picked it as well. But none of her stories don't have words. They're all sort of pictures. So they kind of follow themes. So you can
fantastic.
So for my teaching, I was sort of looking at it with my teaching hat, and it's quite interesting because it gets children to actually think of the story themselves and summarize what's happening rather than being told explicitly. And so this is him sort of thinking what he's going to pack and everything, whether all the scenarios and situations. I know I'm certainly find it really hard to pack light, so I can kind of sympathize. And so he ends up, I'm not going to give the end away, but he ends up, everything goes in the middle, there's a huge bang because he's tried to pack so much that everything's exploded.
Yes, that is really fun, isn't it? I love that. And the sort of freedom and looseness of the line, and it sort of really comes across as a sort of
and it just shows that you really don't need words in a story to convey a meaning, and that if it's illustrated well, the pictures can be so powerful. And
there's something very relaxed about her style, isn't there? And the way her hand lettering and everything, nothing is too laboured, which I really like. Yeah, she's kept a real freshness about it, you know.
Yeah, and Archie, the dog, has so much character. You kind of can feel this is what he really likes to eat, and you kind of get to know, you feel like by the end you really know him as a dog character really well.
yes, it's very clever. Well, I'm going to look that up. That's a great tip.
There's Archie is the first one, and then Archie's Holiday, and I think she's, and then there was a video of Archie going off to the Outer Hebrides as well.
Oh right, yes, she does lots of fantastic animation.
Yeah. And those are really good. I follow her on Instagram, and she's really good on that.
yes.
I just think her books are wonderful as well. So,
good tip.
What's your next one?
So I think my next one would have to be Piper.
Oh yeah.
Which, have you come across Piper before?
No, this was a new one for me.
Yes, well, it possibly is a tiny bit more obscure, so going away from the giant Shirley Hughes area, but this is written and illustrated by a lady called Emma Chichester Clark, whose work I really adore. And actually this came out in the mid-90s, I think, but the style is such that it's retained its contemporary feel, which I think is always a very good sign of an excellent illustrator. And you can look at like sort of John Birmingham and all those people, and they retain their contemporary character. So anyway, this is a story about a dog who is comes into the ownership of a wicked man. She doesn't shy away from wicked characters, which I think is great as well. And he escapes. He's nice to the rabbits he was supposed to kill, and they help him to escape from his kennel. And he dashes off and inadvertently rescues an old lady from being run over.
Oh.
And she basically takes him under her wing, and he ends up having a nice life with this great old lady. So it's a very simple story, but it is good fun and beautifully told, and there's something about it I really love. And also from a visual point of view, she's terribly clever. She works in watercolor and ink, and it's got a really strong feeling of consistency through the whole book. And the colors are all sort of quite tight and remain the same through the book. So from a sort of artistic point of view, there's a lot to learn from this illustrator. I think she's really fantastic. There we are.
Do you feel that you kind of go on the journey with Piper as he's escaping? Is it quite a scary journey?
I suppose it is. I mean, Piper's obviously terribly brave, and again, stories of bravery are always welcome. You do. I mean, it gets yes. Yes, he's just an intrepid little character, and I suppose you do feel like you're carried along.
That's really nice. Do you have a dog?
I'm glad you asked, because I have a black lab called Bonnie, who is exactly like Piper. So there we have another reason I like the book so much. So yes, that could be something to do with it. She's a very gentle soul, very, very sweet and placid. Yeah.
Oh, so she'd play with the bunnies as well.
She would very much be that sort. Yes, she's not got any killer instinct whatsoever. Yeah, which is pleasing. So yeah.
I don't know actually many dogs who would actively kill the bunny, but maybe some.
I don't know. I mean, I see plenty in Edinburgh Gardens, in our communal gardens. They're quite voracious in that sort of department. But yes, I see a lot of feisty, slightly over-restrained dogs in town. So yes, mine is very welcome.
Oh, well, it's nice it has a happy ending for Piper.
It has a lovely ending, and as I say, it is very simple, and but that just is all you need a lot of the time, if the pictures are good enough. Yeah.
Did you ever read a book called or watch the film of Homeward Bound? That's about animals on their journeys.
Oh right. I remember The Incredible Journey.
Yeah, that's the same one.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
yes,
that was a version of.
That's a really good thought. Yes, that's really stays in your mind as a child, doesn't it? Yeah.
All those animals. I think it's sort of animals. Well, certainly because I write all about animals as too. They're a great way to convey emotions in a sort of simple way, a relatable way, I guess.
A relatable way, but comfortable, because it's one step removed, and
exactly.
It allows them to take that imaginative leap. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, well, I hope to meet your dog one day. My next one's about an animal too, about a mouse. Angelina Ballerina. I used to love these books when I was growing up.
Right.
And I always wanted to be a ballerina.
This is exciting.
Have you heard of her before?
Do you know, I haven't, so this is great.
Well, this is Angelina Ballerina, and there's a series of stories all about this mouseling called Angelina, and she just loves dancing, and it's they anthropomorphize the animals, so they're in a sort of home setting again, and it's set in Chipping Cheddar. And Angelina apparently was inspired by an editor named Angelina at a press, for a magazine, and it's just about her story of how she just loves and loves and loves to dance, and it's about the journey of how she eventually gets there. And the pictures are just lovely, and the mouselings are all really sweet. And the parents get a bit cross and fed up with Angelina because all she does is just dance, and to live with it's a nightmare because everything gets sort of messed up, and you can kind of relate to that in some ways.
Absolutely, yeah. Can I ask
everyone despairs of you. Sorry?
Who is it by?
Oh, it's by Catherine Hollibird. I don't really know very much about her, and illustrated by Helen Craig. And the so eventually, I mean, it does all end happily, and she becomes a famous ballerina and everyone loves her. So, but just that, I mean, the pictures have so much detail in them, and it's just so clever.
Really clever, yeah. The behind the scenes, under, over, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of looks like the Royal Opera House actually as well. So it's just a lovely story, and it shows that even when you think everything's going wrong, it can become perfect, and she tidies her room and she becomes a model perfect daughter, and she becomes a wonderful ballerina. So it kind of everything is rosy in the end, and
it has a way of working out.
There are lots of Angelina other stories about her friends and her life, and other aspects of Angelina.
So you can get really, really gripped. Well, I'm going to get some of those for Rufus. I'm sure he would love it.
I mean, they might not. He might not love. Although boys can make very, very good ballet dancers. Look at Billy Elliot.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. We're all for trying to kind of throw a bit of water over his sort of ravages. So yes. So he'd love it, I'm sure.
Yeah, and actually I'm sure I'm trying to think if there are male characters in Angelina, but I'm sure there are in some of the stories, and actually Angelina's dad's a boy, but you'll have to explore more because I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it's just they're just lovely stories.
Yes, well, thank you for the tip. I will explore. Yeah.
What's your third book?
So my third book is dashing forwards to this year, when this book came out by a pretty well-known contemporary writer and illustrator called Helen Stephens, and she's one of a group of artists who lives down in Berwick. And she's also an illustration teacher and does all sorts, so she's quite active in the community of storytelling and illustrating. And I just think she's a great example of one of those really good books that are coming out about now. And it's all about big, bold pictures, colour, very clever use of space. And it's a lovely, simple tale about a boy who forms a friendship with an owl who lives in a tree outside his bedroom window, and his parents don't believe him, and the tree is cut down, or is threatening to be cut down, and by the local people, and he basically saves the tree from being cut down, and so the owl's home. And he's just it's a very sweet tale about a child not being believed or listened to, but then sort of getting himself heard, and it all comes out, and the owl helps him articulate himself. So I just think it's super sweet and simple. Have you come across any of her books before?
No, I haven't.
She's got she's done Fleabag and How to Hide a Lion. I mean, there's tales. They're tales for very young children, possibly slightly younger than your usual audience. You know, very, very simple. So it's more about the pictures than the words, I would say, in her case. But yes, again, really good at getting through into the mind of a child, and a redemptive tale. They all have to have nice, neat endings, don't they? So yeah,
that helps. I was looking it up briefly before and read somewhere that only the boy can see the owl. Is that true? Or
oh gosh, good question.
I wonder whether then the owl was supposed to be
in the end. Your analysis is so much sharper than mine. Maybe I should have really read it this morning. So the owl, he could have been an imaginary figure.
Yeah, whether the owl's supposed to be a kind of analogy or an actual physical owl.
Well, at the end, they do eventually see him.
Oh, nice.
So my reading was that it's about children being heard and believed, but you know, it takes them a while to get everybody to listen, but eventually they do. And but yes, that would be an interesting take on it as well.
Well, owls are pretty wise characters as well, so
pretty wise and elusive. Yes, exactly. So no, excellent fodder for children's books, clearly. Have you done an owl book yet?
No.
Well, there we are. It was a really good one called The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark, which was an oldie but a goodie. Do you remember that?
I used to love that book.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I can't remember too much of the detail now, but it's one of those ones that lingers. Yeah.
There was something about a train, I think, that sort of, because the lights of the train light up the tunnel, so then the owl isn't afraid anymore, or something like that. Maybe I'm confusing my stories. I can't quite remember.
Yes, there must be quite a few going around your mind at any one moment.
The owls, owls are. Do owls sleep during the day?
Yes, I think they are. I think they are. They do sleep during the day.
So that's why
we
kind of
known
as elusive, I guess, because we don't see them that much.
You don't. We actually have a pair of tawny owls very close to us in the middle of Edinburgh. Wow. Who I know who live along the Water of Leith. It's very pleasing. So we hear them at night occasionally. Yeah.
How magical. A pair, so a husband and wife.
I hope so, yeah. That would be nice to think they were looking after each other.
Yeah. I don't know whether owls mate for life. I hope they do.
Yes. I think they do. Yeah. Yeah.
They seem like the sort of characters that would.
Yeah.
Well, my final book. I did this book talk last night, and this lovely lady had Liza had paired a romantic writer and me. She's called Liza Miles, and she does this book interviews. And so we were trying to find a connection between a sort of romantic writer and a children's author. And I came up with this book, so I thought I'd pick it today. Have you ever read it? Mummy
Laid an Egg. No, yeah. I haven't, but that would definitely make my Rufus laugh.
Oh, well, yeah, this could be good teaching of the birds and the bees for Rufus.
Yes, I've heard. Oh, really? Okay, I've heard of Babette Cole, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, she's unfortunately died now, but it's about pictures of, so there are the mummy and daddy at the beginning, and they're trying to teach
Yeah.
the children about how babies are made. And so they go through all these ideas that you dig them up, that you make cookies with them, that you find them under rocks, that you squeeze them out of toothpaste, all these sort of, you know, reasons that here they are being squeezed out of toothpaste, that people think of to tell nosy children or children who ask too many questions. And so then it turns around that the children end up saying, well, actually, we know exactly how babies are made, so we're going to tell you. And so then the power is kind of with the children, quite explicit pictures, but they kind of are in an innocent way. And I think from a child's point of view, they kind of, children just accept things. They don't see it as being something rude or not, because they don't really know. That's kind of what's then put on us as this is right and this is wrong. But a child just sees it as just being what it is. So they go through all the different pictures of how children are made, and then they tell their mummies and daddies that they know exactly, and that all the animals in the world know as well. And then at the end they bring all the mummies and daddies and babies of different animals into the room. So
well, I think that's really great and gets everyone out of an incredibly sticky spot.
Well, so, yeah, exactly. I mean, it is quite a controversial book, and some people love it and some people loathe it and think that it's just too much. And
how have I missed this? This sounds wonderful. I'm going to investigate. Is it too controversial to be in one's local library, do you think?
Well, maybe in the X-rated
section. Right.
But Beck Cole has written, she was pretty bold and brave, and she wrote more than 150 picture books, and one of them I was looking up before. She's written a book called Hair in Funny Places, which is kind of about hitting puberty. So she deals with all these topics that people are generally shy away from, but she
kind of like pre-YouTube.
Yeah, I guess she kind of just is bold and goes with them. So yeah, I her book, we certainly use this book growing up, and found it very helpful. So you should definitely look it up.
Well, thank you for the tip. I will be.
Because I think she writes books about horses as well. Fetlocks Hall, and she lived in the country and she loves animals. So I mean, they're not all like that. She does write proper fiction, children's fiction books, and lovely stories as well. And I looked up her website, and you can buy some of her pictures as well through her website. And
oh, really? Amazing.
I think she must have been quite a lively character. Someone you would have been quite fun to meet, I think.
Yeah,
she sounds bored, I don't think.
Excellent. Yeah, she sounds excellent. I will look her up.
So I think that's all of our books.
Well, thank you very much for asking me on.
Thanks for sharing them, and it's been really fun chatting. Just before we finish, if you could be any fictional character from any book, who would you be?
Well, I actually thought of a very funny character from a book called Cops and Robbers by the Allbergs, Janet and Alan Allberg. And it was Officer Pugh, because he was very unassuming looking, but he could run like a hare and fight like a bear, and was good at crosswords too.
Oh, okay.
Have you come across Cops and Robbers?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, well, it's just a poem. And anyway, it's just he's just a silly character from this book, but I thought it would be quite fun to be able to run like a bear and fight like a hare and be good at crosswords.
Yeah, that's sort of ticking lots of boxes.
Indeed. Can
he cook as well?
Oh, absolutely. He can absolutely everything. But he looks very unassuming, so he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. and you know, has hidden powers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I haven't read Cops and Robert. Aren't they? They're sort of happy families of Cops and Robert. Or maybe I'm getting confused.
Yes. Well, it's just pitting the goodies against the baddies in this book, and yeah, that is
Oh,
happy
well, that
families.
sounds like you'd certainly keep Edinburgh under control by police officer duties as well.
Yes, my vigilanteism. Yes, exactly.
Well, that sounds like a very good character to be. And I have one fictional fact. Do you know then Angelina Ballerina, do you know what her, this is a slightly random one, do you know what her full name is? There's no reason for you that you should.
I don't actually know.
She was called Angelina Jeanette Meisling.
That is just not a mouthful at all, is it?
No.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great fictional fact.
Well, thank you, Camilla. It's been great sharing stories with you.
Okay, well, thank you, Molly. All right.
See you soon.
Speak to you very soon. Okay,
Bye.
bye.